Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk and another episode of Hammer Time. Working my way through a box set of Hammer horror films. I'm really enjoying these now actually, especially after this one. So this episode is Frankenstein Created Woman, which apparently is one of Martin Scorsese's favourite movies. It's not one of my favourite movies of all time, but it's certainly, I would say, one of my, if not my favourite Hammer film that I've seen so far. Certainly from these that I've watched for this series. Yeah, I really like this one. So this is from 1967. It is once again directed by none other than Terence Fisher, a man who, he's racked up a fair amount of credits for Hammer, must be said. And we get Peter Cushing for this one, who I really like. Whenever I've seen him in these Hammer films, I've really enjoyed watching Peter Cushing. I thought he was the best thing about She. There weren't that many great things about that film, to be honest, but yeah, he was certainly one of them. We also get Susan Denberg, who, going off her Letterboxd credits, was only in 2 films. One of this being one of them, which is a shame because I actually quite liked her in this film. She's very good. We get Thorley Walters as Dr. Hertz. He was also in Dracula, Prince of Darkness. He played the Renfield-style character that I talked about in that. I liked him there. I also like him here. He's a man of a nervous disposition, I'm sure I've seen him in some other stuff as well. There's something very familiar about his face. But so the story revolves around this guy who saw his father executed. He grows up. His father was executed for murder. And then he himself is framed for murder. And it's all too easy for people to believe that he did it because his father also had been a murderer. So he's executed. Unfortunately, the disfigured girl that he is in love with, who is often bullied because of her disfigurement, kills herself when she learns of his execution. She actually turns up just as he's being executed and is a bit too late to stop it. So she throws herself off a bridge, kills herself. So yeah, the two of them basically die within minutes of each other. And Frankenstein, Baron Frankenstein, he takes both the bodies, and his intention is to preserve the soul of the guy, Hans, played by Robert Morris, who again I quite liked in this. He's not going to be winning any Oscars or anything for it, but he was good. I enjoyed his character. I thought he was well written. Frankenstein intends to preserve Hans's soul and then transfer it into another body. So when this body of this woman, Christina, his lover, happens to come along on the same day, he decides to transfer it straight away. He decides to transfer the soul of the headless guy into this woman who, like I say, he was in love with. They were in love with each other. So yeah, he does that, and it causes a little bit of a Norman Bates mother kind of personality clash syndrome thing going on, in which, Hans and Christina, both their souls seem to be in her body, and Hans is kind of directing her to kill these 3 guys who were responsible for framing him and ultimately having him executed. So a really good story, but mostly because of the way that these characters are drawn. There is a lot of build-up. There's a lot of time that we spend with these characters before we get to the stuff that most people who who like horror movies, slasher movies, that kind of thing, would probably be hoping for. I think if you come to this wanting the revenge part of the film, the bit where, you know, the woman goes around killing these guys. If that's what you're there for, then you may be disappointed, because it doesn't really start until, you know, about 50 minutes into the film, and this is only a 90-minute movie. Everything before that, as I say, is some good character development stuff. I think I've read some reviews on Letterboxd for this film, and a lot of people seem to say that it's quite funny, that it's a bit over the top at times. Obviously, the concept is definitely over the top. I didn't find it quite as funny as a lot of people make out. I think there is genuine moments of humour in there that are intentional, mostly to do with the arrogance of Frankenstein himself, brilliantly played by Cushing, I might add. Kind of a forerunner to Benedict Cumberbatch's Sherlock in many ways, with that kind of, yeah, he knows he's intelligent and he's quite arrogant about it. But no, I really love his delivery here, like his performance, as I always do. Yeah, so the characters of Hans and Christina, I really feel for them. I think Terence Fisher does a really remarkable job of making us care for these two characters. You know, they make this woman, she has a disfigurement on her face, and it looks quite believable. It's not overdone, but it's not underdone either. You know, you can see why idiots would latch onto it and use it to bully. But you can also see that actually there is a beautiful woman under there. So yeah, I like it. They get the makeup just right, I think, for this. But again, as I say, because these bullies that come in, these three guys, complete douchebags, total douchebags. Some might argue they're played up a bit, but they're drunk. They're a bunch of drunken louts, grade A-holes, and they play that to the hilt. And it really makes you feel for Christina, for one, but also root for Hans. So when Hans is executed, I genuinely feel bad for the guy, and I'm saddened by it. And you at that point, you really do want these three douchebags to get it, to get killed. And so yeah, so when we do eventually get to that payoff, it does feel like a payoff rather than schlock horror for the sake of it, you know, the kind that you'd get in like an 80s slasher film, in which they'd get to that stuff as fast as possible. No, I like they take the time. I like these characters, that I feel for them when in their predicament. It has a somewhat tragic ending, given that this poor woman essentially kills herself again by the same method. You know, it's not a perfect film by any stretch. There are a few things about it. I think that when she originally throws herself off the bridge and kills herself the first time, you're talking something that's like not even the height of a house. I think, you know, and plus she hits water, so. And it doesn't look particularly deep, so yeah. Would that kill her? I doubt very much. Perhaps if she couldn't swim, you know, then yes, I would buy it. I didn't hear any reference to her not being able to swim, and they don't show her kind of, you know, struggling to stay afloat or anything like that. They just kind of, yeah, she jumps off and then she's dead, and that's it. So I'd say that was a bit tame. In that regard, but no, it does the job. It tells us what she's done, what's happened, but it's very hard to believe that it would have actually killed her. Other than that, again, it's the main thing is the dating issue. We are watching a film here from the 60s. I think this fares better than most, though, and that's mostly because they do kind of. They keep it pretty low-key. There isn't that much special effects work in it. There aren't that many locations either, to be honest. We get the kind of out in the sticks area where this guillotine is. We get this bar, this cafe that plays a major part in the film that they keep going back to. Anyone would think it's the only bar in the town, to be honest. And even when the guy who owns it is killed by the three dudes, they're back there fairly sharpish sometime later, and there seems to be a new owner just like that. And then we get, Frankenstein's abode, where he does his experiments. So I get the feeling this probably wasn't that expensive of a movie as far as Hammer goes. They had kind of 3 main sets and they used them to their fullest. But I really don't care because, like I say, I think Fisher does a really great job behind the camera. And I think from a script standpoint, we're really invested in the characters. So, yeah, it's a good story, solid characters, and that wins out every time, regardless of budget and effects and whatnot. I will say that a couple of the kills. So when we do get to, I mean, I'm not the biggest gore hound, it must be said. I don't particularly go in for, full-on filleting violence and whatnot. But there are a couple, like one of these douchebag guys in particular, kind of like the ringleader, the one you want to see cop it most. You don't actually get to see him killed. He walks into this room and then there's a cutaway to a guillotine coming down, and we assume he's been killed, and then we find out later that he has been. Whereas the one who was probably the least douchebaggery of the 3, we actually get to see his death more than the others, which I find quite bizarre. You'd think they'd focus more on the ringleader getting killed than the other 2, but I think I would have liked to have seen that a bit more full on. Like I say, not too gratuitous, but just because that's the build up. That's really, we've waited a long time to see these guys get it. The fact that they cut away on that first one it is a little bit disappointing. But no, beyond that, really good stuff. If you've never watched a Hammer film before and you want to see it at its best, if you want to see what Hammer Studios could do when they're at the best, I'd say check this film out. As I say, it's one of Scorsese's favourite films, and I can kind of understand why. So yeah, one of the best Hammer films I've seen up to this point. I'm by no means an expert on Hammer. They made like 150 films or something. I've seen about 10, 11, 12, something like that. So of the 10, 11, 12 that I've seen, this might just be my favourite. The original Dracula, the first Dracula that they did, it's been a while since I've seen that, but it's probably going to be a toss-up between that and this one. But 4 out of 5 from me. If you have seen Frankenstein Created Woman, please do let me know what you thought about it down below in the comments. Thank you for watching this video, and until next time, cracking.